On this special day, I commend the 23rd Psalm to you. Think of it as your baptismal and confirmation psalm. The psalm is believed to have been composed by David, Jesse's son, anointed by the prophet Samuel to be the second king of Israel. David can be thought of as the shepherd boy who became king. When Samuel came to Jesse's house to anoint one of Jesse's sons as king in the place of Saul, David was in the field taking care of the sheep. After Samuel had seen the others and they were all rejected, David was summoned from the field where he was tending his father's flock. And when he appeared before Samuel, the Lord spoke to the prophet, saying, "Arise and anoint him." I believe, my friends, that David learned quite a bit from his experience as a shepherd. Certainly, in Psalm 23, the psalmist uses the language of shepherding to speak about his relationship with God. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The psalmist points to a particular Lord. The psalmist is clear, he has one shepherd, and that shepherd is the Lord. Now, the word Lord is a title that is used for someone in a position of power, authority, and control. In the Bible, it is one of the titles or names nearly always used to refer to God. Note also in this verse the use of the definite article. When the psalmist says the Lord, he is being very specific about who he considers as the one having power and authority in his life. The psalmist is plumb certain or very sure about who is in control of his life and who is guiding him. He says, the Lord. Some people, like members of the House of Lords of the United Kingdom or some other British aristocrats, are sometimes given that title, Lord. The psalmist, however, is definite in his reference to who is in control, who is his Lord. His Lord is Adonai. His Lord is God. So I want to say to you, my young friends, Bryce and Sarah, be clear about who or to what you give power, authority, and control in your life. Be careful in whom you place your confidence. Like the psalmist, I would say to you, put your confidence and trust in the Lord, the one true God, Adonai, the God of the Bible. Let the Lord be your ruler. Let the Lord be your master. Let the Lord be your guide at all times, and don't allow yourselves to be controlled by any other. The other thing about your psalm today is that the psalmist speaks of a personal shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, he says. And I want you to note the use of the possessive pronoun my. You know, the psalmist could have said something like, the Lord is a good shepherd. Or even, the Lord is the shepherd. However, that does not carry the sense of personal ownership and possession. It is one thing to possess some information about the Lord that you have received from someone over the last few months and weeks. I have tried to share with you information, things about the church, things about God, ideas about God. It is one thing to have that kind of information that you receive from someone else. It is something else, my dear sister and brother, to possess the Lord because you have received the Lord for yourself. You might have heard of the banquet hall that was filled. To speak for the occasion, a renowned orator had been brought in. After a wonderful meal, he mesmerized the crowd with his voice as he recited poetry and famous selections of speeches. Near the end of the program, he asked if anyone had a favorite selection that they would like for him to recite. From the back of the room, the old man stood. An old man stood up and kindly asked if he would mind reciting the 23rd Psalm. The speaker said that he would be glad to do it if, when he was finished, the old man would recite it as well. The old gentleman nodded his head and sat back down. In a beautifully trained voice that resonated throughout the great room, the speaker began, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures." And on he went. When he was finished, there was thunderous applause and a standing ovation. He then looked at the old man and said, "All right, sir, it is your turn now." In a trembling voice that was cracked by time, the old man began to recite, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And on he went. It is said that when he was finished, there was no applause, but neither was there a dry eye in the building. After the event, someone asked the famous speaker what he thought produced the different response in the crowd. The speaker paused, thought for a moment, and said, "I know the 23rd Psalm, but that man knows the shepherd." I know the 23rd Psalm, but that man knows the shepherd. That makes all the difference. So I say to you, my friends, own the shepherd whose own you are. Get to know the shepherd. It's not enough to know the psalm that tells of the shepherd, but get to know the shepherd of whom the psalm speaks. And that will make all the difference in your life. The last thing about your text for today is that the psalmist affirms the providing God. He points to a particular Lord. He speaks of a personal shepherd. And he affirms the providing God. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." One reason this translation is so powerful has to do with the use of the future tense auxiliary, the word shall. I shall not want. Now and in the future, the psalmist is sure that the Lord, his shepherd, is a dependable provider who will take care of him so that he will never be in want. With such a reliable shepherd, there is nothing to fear. No circumstance, no situation will cause him fear. Friends, whatever you need, turn to the Lord in prayer. Trust your shepherd to guide you in the right path through the dark valleys of life to pastures green and water still, where you will experience God's prosperity and peace. Yes, we all cry out, we all have our hungers and our thirsts. We yearn, we long for something. And this psalm affirms that God will provide what we need. God will provide the guidance, the counsel, the direction if we seek God's face. God's goodness and mercy will follow you so that your cup will overflow with what God provides. And others will come to experience God's goodness and mercy through you. Trust this providing God, for no good thing will God withhold from those who walk uprightly and who trust God. Let us say together, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Amen.